Hello and welcome to part 5 of my Walking Dead Rewrite. This episode will go over the first half of Season 5, so grab the popcorn and let's get into it. Season 5, Episode 1, No Sanctuary. No Sanctuary would be a similar episode to our timeline, but instead of Bob being taken, it would be Milton. Everything would play out the same, and the explosion would still happen. The group that would save them is Michonne, Sasha, Herschel, and Judith. Sasha would be the one to go do the plan, leaving Herschel and Michonne to watch Judith. When Martin goes to threaten Judith, Michonne kills him instantly. The group would escape Terminus the same way, but with the extra people there, Karen gets bit on the foot. The group wouldn't notice this until the next episode. The group would fully regroup and we would end seeing Morgan looking at Terminus. Season 5, Episode 2, Strangers. This episode would be similar to in reality, but they don't hear Gabriel's screams. They instead just see the walkers. They kill them and keep walking until they stumble upon the church abandoned. When they go inside and settle in for the night, Karen would reveal her bite to the group. This would destroy Tyrese. They would then help Karen into the office and onto the couch. Tyrese, Sasha, and Bob would stay with her as the others head back outside to discuss heading back to Terminus for their weapons. They decide to take Rick, Shane, Michonne, Daryl, and Merle. They would go back to Terminus and use the Walker Gut strategy from Season 1 to sneak in there. They take their weapons and leave. When they make it back, they start to discuss DC when Sasha comes out and tells them that Karen is about to die. The group goes in there and says their goodbyes. They all leave again, including Bob. Sasha goes to leave, but when she sees Tyrese start sobbing, she walks back over and does it for him. Season 5, Episode 3, Four Walls and a Roof. This episode, the group would be getting ready to leave and go to DC. Before this, Shane, Merle, and Michonne would head into the town that Gabriel went into in our timeline. But in this one, most of the buildings wouldn't be looted. They would loot the buildings that Gabriel did and would skip over the one that Bob died in canonically because of the amount that they were carrying. We would then see Glenn, Maggie, and Herschel go back for Dale's RV that Herschel had before having to leave it when he was saved by Michonne. This idea is being retconned into my Season 4 video. They get back and we see everything almost loaded up into the church bus. The rest of it would be loaded into the RV as the group leaves the church. Season 5, Episode 4, Slab Town. This episode would be entirely different because Beth is still with the group. So this episode would see the group on the road, developing their characters and relationships. For example, Tyrese this episode would be in a similar state to when Karen died originally, but a little less angry because she wasn't murdered. Season 5, Episode 5, Self-Help. This episode would be mostly the same. The bus would still crash, but the RV wouldn't, and they would get out and fight off the walkers. When Eugene is almost bitten, Milton runs over and pulls the walkers away, getting bitten in the process. Other than that, there would be no casualties. After all the walkers are dead, they would go over to Milton, who is starting to die. He would muster out, "Get Eugene to DC, he's the only hope," before dying. The episode would continue the same it did in our timeline, but with reflections from the group about Milton, ending with Eugene revealing he's not a scientist. Season 5, Episode 6, Consumed. This episode would be entirely different since Beth is still with the group. This episode would be mostly character development and everyone's reaction to Eugene not being a scientist. At the end of the episode, Herschel would be looking around before getting taken by mysterious people. Season 5, Episode 7, Crossed. This episode would start with Herschel waking up at a hospital. He would ask what is going on when he's met by Dawn and Dr. Edwards. This would be the same as what happened with Beth, but with Herschel instead. We would then see our group that just figured out Herschel is missing. Maggie and Beth are freaking out when Daryl would find tire marks on the road. The group would get into the RV and would follow these trails, leading them back to Atlanta. Rick would devise the same plan he did canonically of just shooting his way into the hospital. But instead of Tyrese giving the trade plan, it would be Shane. So the group would lure a group of officers over and would kidnap them before talking on the radio to Dawn saying, "We want to make a trade." Season 5, Episode 8, Coda. This episode would be mostly the same. trade would be going down just as planned. Rick would tell them that any of them can join his group if they would like. Noah would jump at the opportunity, but Don would stop him. Herschel would see this and decide to stand up for Noah. He would walk over to Don and stab her in the shoulder with a pair of scissors. Don would instinctively shoot Herschel in the head, killing him instantly. Beth and Maggie would both fall to the ground, seeing their father get shot, when Merle would shoot Don. The group would then leave, having Abraham and the Dixon brothers help carry Herschel out of the hospital.